In my life there came a time when I had to make a change. You know, the things just weren't right. I looked around for someone else to blame. I searched and I reached down inside. And I knew when I found there's a light I can hide. Can be free. I can be free. I can rise above. I can be free. I can be free. I will rise above. When you're all alone.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you live from KSCO. Very happy to be here today, and hopefully I'm going to say a couple things that might help you endeavor through this life that we have. And, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and the best thing that you can do is take stock of what you got, your health, and make sure that you're doing the things that need to be done to make you healthier. And I'm going to go over some of that today. One of the things that I'm really being confronted with a lot, and it's very interesting, is this term called peripheral neuropathy. It's been getting a lot of press lately, but it's been around a long time, and nobody was calling it for what it is necessarily. It is the culmination of so much damage to the nervous system that it is it's causing people to lose their ability to get by. And it can happen in any time in your life. A lot of times when people hear peripheral neuropathy, they're very right in thinking that it has to do with the nerves at the end of your feet or your hands. But there's a lot of other aspects to it. As I've been rewriting my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, and put in a whole section on peripheral neuropathy, because of the prevalence of so many paths. It's almost like all paths lead to Rome. All disabilities, all chronic diseases, chronic inflammatory diseases, toxicity, chemotherapies, radiation treatment, injuries are all leading to Rome, which is the inability of the nervous system to recover faster than it's being damaged in the periphery. So the periphery is considered anything outside your spine. And the best way to think about it is, if you inside your house, this would be the center of your house, or in your spine, it's called the central nervous system because it's in the center. Anything out of doors, any of your outdoor gardens and paths and the borders of your land would be the periphery of your property. And your peripheral nervous system is that. It's everything outside of your spine going to every cell, organ, and tissue in your body. And we have 75 to 100 trillion cells in our body, all doing 60 million functions a minute, all controlled by the brain. There's 42 miles of nerve in our body. And those nerves are extensions, obviously, of the brain that can take information to and from their nerve ending, wherever that might be, in your little toe or your gizzard or your heart or your lungs or your intestines, back to the brain. And these things communicate back and forth and decide how to function. Now, we have a second brain, actually, which is kind of interesting. It's called the microbiome in our gut, where we have 100,000 bugs, or 100 trillion bugs or bacteria in our gut, called the microbiome. And they basically digest our food for us so that we can digest it. or absorb the nutrients of it. Now, the microbiome has been villainized so much in the world ever since it was a couple hundred years ago, and I forget the brother's name who invented the microscope, and they were playing around with these convex lenses and all these different things, and they were able to gaze at a drop of water, and oh my God, they thought, oops, there went my phone. They thought all of a sudden they were being attacked by, oh, let me get my phone back up here. They were being attacked by aliens from another planet because they saw these little teeny bacteria hanging out in this water droplet. And my gosh, you know, the war began. And so that became the a battle for years of figuring out that anything that was microscopic was bad for our body. And it's been basically I'm struggling with my cell phone here, so hold on a sec while I get it back in place. It's upside down. Okay, well, we'll turn it right side up, see if we can get it here. This is the beauty of being live on the air, is you get to confront all these fun things that happen and make sure that you can try to keep your trend of thought going. So excuse me for those of you that are listening on the radio for putting up with me. I always run my show on my Facebook, Duncan McCollum, so you can see it, see me live doing it. And then it's also put up on my YouTube channel, Dr. Duncan McCollum, if you ever want to watch it or send it to somebody else. So thank you for your patience there. So we're talking about the microbiome, not only the 100 trillion in your gut, but covering every micro millimeter of your body. You have microbiome protecting your skin, protecting the bad bugs that want to get into your skin, fighting them off. You have them surrounding us. They're basically responsible for making sure that the plants that we want to eat are digestible for us. Most plants have substances in them that protect them from being consumed. So, when we eat them, the only way we can digest them is by the microbiome breaking them down. And the microbiome in the soil break down the nutrients in the soil, the minerals and such, and nutrients, so that the plants can absorb them. So even the plants themselves need microbiome to get the nutrients out of the soil. So when these two fellows looked at that microscope and saw things wiggle in the water and declared war on microbiome, it was kind of a fiasco. Now you look at where our health is today, we're rated 47th in the world for health. And 75% of the medications, if you look at, you can look this up on the National Institute of Health, 75% of all medications are used to cover up symptoms. And so if you're covering them up and not handling the advancement of it, what are you really doing? And some of the ramifications of this are in the peripheral neuropathies that we see going on. There are medications themselves that will actually have the quote side effect, unquote, or direct effect of causing or perpetuating peripheral neuropathy. I think some of the biggies are high blood pressure and cholesterol meds, and so many different ones. But you have to be sure that when you're working with your medical doctor, you ask them, is there something else I could do before I take this? One of my colleagues, Texas Tammy, I love her dearly. She's part of the Dr. Pompa Platinum group. In fact, she's the longest standing member in the group, I think 12 or 13 years, said something the other day in one of our group meetings. She said, a patient of mine was asking me, no, it's actually a new doctor in the group, was asking me, if a patient asks me about medications, what am I supposed to do? And this particular person was not a medical doctor. And, even if they were, the wrong thing to do is alter the prescription of a medical doctor. You want to have that patient go back to that medical doctor who prescribed that medication and see what they may do to help them eliminate it or have a less of a dependency on it. And especially the combinations of many is part of the toxicity level that is adding to the problem of the world toxins, 250 billion tons of pollutants dumped on the planet every year, let alone the ones that were naturally on the planet, the heavy metals like the mercury, the lead, and these various other things that we've managed to cultivate into our comfort zone of living that are actually bad for us. And these things all accumulate in the body. And if your body's not able to eliminate them correctly, they're going to end up in your fat cells in your brain, damaging the neurotransmitters, disrupting your hormones, are called hormone disruptors. And, you know, just like a swimming pool or a hot tub, think of a hot tub if you ever been in one where the water was questionable on clear, you know, and then, you know, if you let it go a couple days longer, you go, I'm not getting in that hot tub. It's filled with junk. And that's exactly what happens to your body as it accumulates toxins. Now you have a liver and a kidney and a lymphatic system, 2 kidneys, that are supposed to get rid of those toxins out of your body. But oftentimes they get plugged or they stop working correctly because of the nerves going to the liver or the signals coming from the brain down, the hormones being generated. The liver gets plugged just like a vacuum filter or an air filter in your house, and it can't do its job of detoxifying these elements. So then they, instead of being eliminated out of your body, they're floating around and around and around. And it's like having solvent in your veins. It's bad for the tissue. It hardens your arteries. It gets down to the little teeny capillaries, the smallest blood vessel in your body at the tip of your toes, damages it. Actually, then your body sets cholesterol down in there and other bad oils, you know, the rancid oils, the canola oils, and these various other things that are what we call adulterated, meaning they're not even human consumptible anymore, if that's a word. And they start to plug up those little cracks in the capillaries, but pretty soon they've closed up the hole so much that the red blood vessel that carries oxygen can't get in there anymore, can't get through. So it starts to stack up like, you know, the freeway where we live, Highway 1, about 4 or 5 o'clock going south, you can't get anywhere. And that's what happens in these arteries. The blood vessels can't get anywhere. And then, so these tissues at the end of those extremities need the oxygen to stay alive, but they can't get oxygen, so they start to die. And guess what's there? Nerve. So this nerve endings start to die. And then as the protective sheath around the nerve starts to decay because of lack of oxygen, the blood vessels break down, you have this incredible problem. And then you start to lose all of your functionality from those communication from those, let's say the feet up to the inner ear, which is your gyroscope that keeps you balanced. Sometimes we have patients come in the office and I take an x-ray of them and they're leaning 3 inches off to one side. And the only reason they're not falling down is because the gyroscope in their inner ear is communicating with all the 26 bones and all the muscles in the feet to keep them balanced without you even thinking about it. So when we talk about peripheral neuropathy, we're talking about the loss of communication up and down these nerve channels and the plethora of issues that go on with peripheral neuropathy. So I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, we will be going through a short little scenario. I'm going to explain to you a little bit more about this condition called peripheral neuropathy and what can be done about it. Something can be done about it. In such a time like this, we need to pull out all stops and get our bodies as healthy as we can get them, because there's too much going on out there in the world. And as I was talking about that dirty hot tub, you know, you don't want to get in it. Well, it's one little more drop and it becomes toxic. One more little piece of dirt in there and it's toxic. The same thing happens in your body as your liver can't eliminate the toxins and your kidneys can't filter it out because of the heavy metals, chemicals, molds, hidden infections that your body is just not doing well. It gets chronically inflamed, and that chronic inflammation causes chronic disease. And that chronic disease is what's going to get you. And that's what's causing the myriad of issues that are making us rated 47th in the world for health. But more than that, it's causing us to lose our freedoms. So just like the hot tub, you got to clean it out. You got to clean your body out correctly, not some whimsical 11-day detox. Oh, I detoxed once. No, you got to do it every day because you're getting polluted every day. And you got to do it right. But I'm going to take a short break. And when I come back, we'll talk a little bit more and walk you through this peripheral neuropathy thing. I'll be back in just a couple minutes.
When you're all alone and there's nowhere left to go, the truth is right in front of you.
Hi, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I have this amazing patient, Gayleen, here, who walked into our office, well, barely walked into our office, and she'd had a lot of attempts in trying to fix her health, and she's had some tremendous changes here. So I was wondering if you would like to just tell our audience about that.
Well, like Dr. McCollum said, I came into the office in December, hardly able to walk and bent over. And within 3 visits, I was standing up straight, walking. I couldn't believe it. That's never happened to me before. It's been a very rough road, but we're getting there, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, and you had 2 back surgeries as well, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, in 1995. 1995, yeah.
And so they didn't really solve your problem.
No, they didn't.
And you came in, we did some stem cell treatments on you and some chiropractic on you, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you're happy. I'm
happy. Everyone here is just awesome. They're all here to help you. They're all so sweet. And I'm glad I came here.
Thank you so much, Gayleen. And I just really appreciate you being here as well. You're such a pleasure when you come in.
Thanks.
So you should listen to Gayleen, see if we can help your health.
That's right. Anyone that needs help, please come in.
Thank you. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum here, and I have Pastor Mark with me. He came in and experienced the stem cell machine, the TRT machine, and he wanted to just go ahead and tell you a little bit of his experience. Yeah, I injured my knee years ago from sports and being dumb, and after the first stem cell treatment, after the very first one, I could do a full knee squat, and doctors told me that we want to replace your knee, and my knee would just ache just from sitting, and you probably experienced that if you have knee problems, but now, no ache, I can walk without pain. And when I sit, I have no pain. And I just love it. I'd recommend it to anybody. It's terrific. When we look at your x-rays, your discs and your knees look pretty good, too. Yeah, they're improving so much. I just love it. I can't wait for my treatment every week. Highly recommend it to anyone. So you'd recommend they do the $49 special to see if it will work for them? Oh, absolutely. That's what drew me in with the $49 special. I thought, I got $50 to spend to just see, and it certainly paid off. Call 831-459-9990. Thanks.
Can you search and you reach down inside? And you'll know when you find there's a light you can't hide.
Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum. I'm back. And that's Tony Lindsay. And he's a 11 or 13-time Grammy Award winner with a song by my friend Steve Thunderbird. And I really love playing that song because, you know, it really depicts the fact that you can make decisions in your life to affect your life. But, you know, we've not really been told that. So often we kind of just go to work and we're overwhelmed. So we can't get out of the spot we're in. So I really want to encourage you to decide to make a change for the better. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on. And, you know, I was listening to one of my good friends, Mr. Awesome, Chris Phillips. He has a shower door company in town. And we always call him Mr. Awesome because he's always got the best attitude and the best advice. And the other day he said, you know, during all controversy, all sides of everything, there's victims, and he didn't say victors, but those who look at the positive side and make it go right. There's always going to be diversities and always going to be issues going on, but there's always the decision made by you or somebody to make it go right. And that might seem overwhelming, but, you know, our species hasn't been, you know, the number one on this planet. If it is, I don't know. And for a long time, because we have this goal, and that is to make the world a better place. And, you know, everybody has different opinions on that. But my point is, you can make a decision to change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a little talk on the peripheral neuropathy and the evolution of that in individuals. And it starts with a letter. And this letter really kind of depicts, you know, how this all comes about. The letter says, "Dear friend, I'm not really sure when I first noticed it, nor what it was I did notice. All I remember was that one day there was just this feeling of foreboding over me, kind of like I was doomed. At first, it would just fade in and out, and I wasn't really sure. I didn't want to believe it was really there. I think I was trying to, well, will it away. It didn't work. That was 3 years ago, and now it seems my worst dreams have come true. Now it's with me every day. When I wake up, if I even sleep, I spend a few minutes taking stock, hoping it might have magically gone away." Well, that was what I did for a while, but now it's part of me every moment. It won't go away. So there's two words you never want to hear: peripheral neuropathy. Yet 25 million Americans have been diagnosed with peripheral neuropathy. Millions more have no clue as to what it is. The central nervous system, or the CNS, is the brain and all the nerves inside the spinal column. And I've equated that to a house and all of the stuff inside the house, where the peripheral nervous system, or the PNS, is the 31 pairs of nerves that exit the spine, serving the 75 trillion cells in your body. The vagus nerve controls the autonomic nervous system, which comes out of the top of your nervous system, the top bone called C1. What is peripheral neuropathy? Well, peripheral means outside, and neuropathy means a pathology or a damaging of the nerve. So anything that damages the nerves of the body, aberrant or wrong communications of information to and from the brain and body, or partial communication or lack of communication altogether. These are different types of peripheral neuropathy. Every nerve in the peripheral nervous system has a specific job. Sensory nerves that receive sensations such as temperature, pain, vibration, touch, hot and cold. Motor nerves, of course, which control your movement. And the autonomic nervous system, such as the blood pressure, sweating, heart rate, digestion, bladder control. This is the vagus nerve. Oftentimes, this starts with pins and needles in your hands and feet. It can be numbness or burning or aching. Some of the devastating effects of peripheral neuropathy, and there's many as they start to escalate, but it could be trouble walking, balance issues, trouble sleeping, burning, freezing, difficulty driving, which is really scary because when you can't tell if you're putting your foot on the gas or the brake and you're guessing, or you're starting to wonder if you really can feel the difference, you're endangering not only your lives, but the lives of others. And I've had patients just the other day told me that. She goes, sometimes I can't tell. and she's wondering what she should do about it. And I'm talking to her about something that we know that will work, but she has to get agreement with her spouse, which she doesn't think will be willing to do something for it, which is really a shame. Loss of independence is one thing that occurs because, when you can no longer get around or are afraid of falling, you don't want to go shopping, you don't want to go to the games of your grandchildren because you're afraid you'll stumble or step in a gopher hole somewhere. You can't walk the dog. It's hard to walk on uneven surfaces, like going to the beach. You have falls or complications. And it can have a huge mental and emotional effect, fear, anxiety, and depression. And what we see oftentimes, like a patient came in the other day who stepped off a curb onto a lawn, hit a gopher hole, and fell forward and hit her nose and got a black eye and did some damage to one of her cheekbones. And she said, well, I just fell. See, when you didn't have the peripheral neuropathy, you would catch yourself, your foot would right itself, and you would catch your balance. But as we start to lose that brain-body connection from the gyroscope in our ears down to our feet, we start to have more of these injuries occur and these falls and other things, let alone when people have cuts on their feet and you can't feel them. This is, becomes a very dangerous problem because you can get infections that you're not aware of until they become bad. Some of the many causes of peripheral neuropathy. So the number one cause is diabetes. 60% of the US population are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and 30 to 40% of them who are diabetic will develop peripheral neuropathy, 30 to 40%. The sooner you catch this, the better. Diabetes can be reversed if you catch it soon enough with diet and exercise alone, according to the National Institute of Health, 1996. Chemotherapy. Cancer is the second leading cause of death in the United States. Globally, 57% of cancer cases, 17 million require chemotherapy. In 2018, that is, and then 2020, 26 million new cases occurred, of which 53 or 15 million people needed chemotherapy. So chemotherapy does damage the peripheral nerves and adds to this peripheral neuropathy. The cool thing is it can be helped. Just know it can be helped. Science shows that the peripheral nerves grow a millimeter a day if you can do more of the right things than the wrong things to help those grow. So there is a technology on that. Radiation therapy, another huge thing that causes peripheral neuropathy. And 50% of all cancer patients will receive radiation treatment before, during, or after surgery. And that's a huge factor in people that get peripheral neuropathy. Now, usually, and I'll go into the traditional treatment in a minute, but that's from the Lancet Oncological Journal. So trauma, spinal injuries, structural injuries are potential causes. Vitamin B or 12 deficiency, mineral deficiency, toxic chemicals, and poisoning. In 2021, there were 627 per 100,000 reported poisonings. Autoimmune disease, third most common disease in the United States now is autoimmune disease. It used to be accidents and properly prescribed medications that are killing people. Now, tied with all of those are autoimmune disease, third most common cause of peripheral neuropathy and death, actually. Medications, cholesterol, high blood pressure meds, and many others. Alcohol, chronic abuse of alcohol, cigarette smoking, repetitive trauma, infections, hereditary diseases, which isn't huge, tumors, bone marrow disorders, and other diseases. A lot of time people go, well, isn't it hereditary? Whatever their spinal injury. Well, my mom had low back pain. Doesn't mean that you are going to have low back pain or neck pain or scoliosis. Most of it is caused by the environment that you grew up in. So initially, one thing that we do is we do thermographic imaging of your hands and feet when you come into the office. And the first thing we're looking for is a poor blood flow, because this causes the tissues and the nerve damage or the symptoms, which could be start with achiness, weakness, burning and tingling, numbness or pain, and sensory loss. So usually what we see is the most of the foot from the ankle heading down towards the toes is going to be very yellow or white. And then as you go down towards the toes, it starts to turn orange, then red, then purple, then black. And that is the lack of blood. So as your peripheral nerves in those extremities lose the blood, the nerves die, the cells die. That's why diabetes is the #1 cause of preventable amputation right now. And peripheral neuropathy is the reason why. First thing that happens is those toes and hands stop getting the correct nerve supply and blood supply, and mainly because of the sticky blood vessels going through those sticky blood cells, red blood cells, trying to make it through those capillaries get plugged up. And then they're just like on the highway 1 going south at rush hour, nothing gets through. And then those cells that are needing and wanting that oxygen don't get it, and then they end up dying. So peripheral neuropathy, there is a degenerative scale. It starts at 0, then to 25, 50, 75, and 100% degeneration. The main thing is the myelin sheath, which is the protective coating that goes around the nerves. It's kind of like the light that plugs into your wall. There's the copper wire in there in the middle that transmit the signal. And then there is the plastic around the wire to stop everybody from getting electrocuted and protecting that cord. So around all of your nerves are myelin sheaths that protect the nerve all the way down to your toes. And also they're loaded with blood vessels to keep the nerves alive. So as the toxins in the environment, the chemotherapy, the radiation, the injury, the chemical pollutants, the plugging of the blood vessels, any of those things, alcohol, smoking, start to damage the periphery, what happens is that the myelin sheath starts to die, and then you cut off the oxygen to the nerve will start to die. We catch it up to 75%. We are still able to reverse it in 99% of the cases, or over 90% of the cases. So the sensory loss and nerve damage severity chart says as long as you're, not completely and permanently, the nerve is completely dead, then there's a good chance for it to come back. But what we're hearing is because that nerve is alive somewhere along the pathway, no matter how far up your foot, those nerves do grow by 1 millimeter a day if you do the right things. And that's what we are equipped to help you do. Without oxygen, the nerves die. Now, the traditional treatment for these are gabapentin, which is, and they call it an off-label drug. If you've ever learned that term before, off-label means that it was used for something else. And in this case, gabapentin and many of the other drugs I'll mention in a minute were designed for epileptic seizures. And so if you're taking gabapentin, it's an epileptic seizure drug, which basically they found covered up some of the burning and stabbing sensations that you get with peripheral neuropathy. Lyrica is another one. Other medications are Cymbalta, and then oftentimes you'll get injections, epidural. Oftentimes people, not often, but they get tarsal tunnel surgery, which is surgery of your in your ankle, and or compression socks. So rather than try to repair the nerve and get the oxygen back down to the tissue at the end, they just keep doing things until covering up the symptoms. And what ends up happening is those nerves continue to die. Pretty soon you're faced with potential more surgical handlings to correct the problem. And oftentimes people get toxicity in the blood from these damaged tissues, and that becomes a major life-threatening problem. A lot of times people are taking lots of medications, and you can't medicate yourself out of a chronic condition. So that's why 75% of the drugs we take in this country are made to cover up symptoms, but you can't medicate yourself out of a chronic condition. There is no magic pill for all this. There's just covering it up and waiting for the next foot to drop, no pun intended. However, something can be done about it. Reversing neuropathy naturally without drugs, injections, or surgery. There is help on the horizon. There are over 20,000 or 2,000 research articles in therapy on the technology that we utilize in my office, which is the research is robust and testimonials are plentiful. We can restore blood flow to the peripheral nerves if done, if you decide to do it correctly. And it's not a quick fix pill. It's taken you a long time to get there. But if you do some of the things that we recommend, in fact, it would be the things we recommend, you can actually start to see changes here. And I'll tell you a story in a minute. But the peripheral neuropathy, the peripheral nerves do regenerate. There's something called angiogenesis. Genesis means new or fresh life. Angio means blood vessel. So you get new blood vessel life or growth by going through processes of making sure that you're getting the right nutrients down into that extremity area, making sure that we're utilizing different types of infrared and ultraviolet light at the right frequencies at the right times and sequences, along with some stuff called biofeedback that can actually start to restore and repair and regrow these nerves. So we can retrain the nerves as well. And there's something called biofeedback. And this particular system, biofeedback is something that sends signals from the area in the periphery up to the brain and back. And it does it 8 times a second. And it modulates based on the communication going up and down the nerve. And it will help restore and reshape the nerve signal. So oftentimes, like when you're listening to a radio, you get static on there and you can kind of tune it in a little better. That's what the rebuilder does. And the best way for me to think about it is if you're going to walk through a field and there's no path, you just kind of start off walking, you end up with stickers in your feet and foxtails climbing in your socks and all that kind of stuff. And it's a pretty rough result. But if you keep walking that same path over and over and over again, pretty soon there will be a path and it will get wider and wider and the weeds won't grow in there, right? Well, that's what the retrainer does. That's what the biofeedback machine does. It will help restore proper nerve communication and rebuild those nerves along with the red light that is going to increase angiogenesis so you get more oxygen down there. And then we want to reestablish the oxygenation of the nerves. And we do that through the 2 things that I mentioned. Also, some supplementation is very necessary to help get nitric oxide into the bloodstream and down into those distant regions of the nervous system and the circulatory system, because that nitric oxide will also help to get the blood vessels and the nerves and everything working correctly and growing again. So the other things is sometimes we have to detoxify the body on an individual basis. I won't go in that today, and of course, make sure the nervous system is working at the nerve itself. And what we see in 12 weeks is the beginning time that we will do the second test. We start to see tissue healing, blood flow normalizing, improved walking and balance, increase and enhanced sensation in the area, the ability to start to get some of your independence back, as well as some of the quality of life. Now, this happens over a period of months and months and months, because it wasn't something that happened overnight and there is no quick fix. But if we're moving in the right direction versus the wrong direction, you are going to be able to get a lot of gains back from this. So the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So you can't just piecemeal this together. We want to restore blood flow to the damaged tissue through microcirculation, the nitric oxide, and various ways we deliver that, retrain or re-educate the proper nerve function, the principles of neuroplasty, meaning the nerves will grow back via biofeedback, reduce the toxins and inflammation, detoxify, different techniques, and balance the blood sugar and hormones. We've got to fix the cell to get well. Today, we get great results. Up to 97% improvement in sensation, reduction of pain, 92%, improvement in balance, average improvement in balance about 85%. The greatest physician who ever lives right inside of you, and that's who we are teaming up with. So we're teaming up with the greatest physician who ever lived so that we can get the right results. And New Hope for Neuropathy, Peripheral Neuropathy. Call my office if you'd like to get a screening, 831-459-9990, or email Mariah, MARIAH at McCollumWellness.com, Mariah at McCollumWellness.com, MCCOLLUM, alphabetical order on the vowels. And we will send you some information. And then if appropriate, and it looks like we may be in the right path, we'll have you come in for a complimentary thermographic picture of your feet. And then once we do that, if it looks like we might be able to help you, we'll schedule a time for you to come back. But anyway, that's the peripheral neuropathy information. I'm going to take a short break here and I'll be right back. Thank you very much.
You can rise above. You can be free. You can be free. You will rise above.
Hey, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I have this amazing patient, Lauren, here, and she had a few things to say.
Hi, I'm Lauren Spencer, a local realtor, and I've been seeing Duncan for years now. I had a biking accident and he's been adjusting me since then, and it's been amazing. But lately I've had trouble with my feet, and I'm an avid walker, avid biker, avid golfer, and my feet were aching all the time. And I tried Duncan's TRT machine, which is an amazing stem cell machine that rejuvenates the cells. And my feet, I've had like 3 or 4 sessions with the machine, and my feet are like new, no aches, no pains. It's a miracle. So I really highly recommend Duncan and his chiropractic services, but also that TRT machine. You got to try it. Thanks.
Wow, thanks, Lauren. That was awesome. So we still have the $49 special. Come on in and see if it works for you. Thank you. Hey, everybody, this is Dr. McCollum. I have this amazing guy, Gary, here, who's a new patient to our office. And he just came up to the front and started talking about stuff. And I wanted you to just express what you were telling us.
What is really satisfying to me is coming here and meeting fine people like Natalie. And frequently she's the utility player running around the office. And you can always tell that Natalie's on the phone because she will always say, McCollum Chiropractic, I can help you. And you know what? She can, and she does. And it just makes my heart jump just to realize there's such helpful and friendly people in the office. Everyone from Angus, who runs the TRT machine, the other chiropractors in the office, and the administrative staff like Arlene, very friendly and very helpful. If you want to feel comfortable at a chiropractor's office, come to Dr. McCollum. He's conveniently located off of 41st Avenue.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Call today for a complimentary consultation, 831-459-9990.
Just try to remember that we found. Yeah, we can be free.
Okay, everybody. Well, thank you very much for hanging in there today. We are making some pretty amazing progress with the peripheral neuropathy program. My office basically has a few services that we offer. Of course, corrective chiropractic care, where we look at not just handling you when you have symptoms, but getting your body at the peak performance. We still use the stem cell machine. In fact, it's really part of the peripheral neuropathy program is to use the TRT or the soft wave machine, because we want to get your own stem cells into the area to rebuild the tissue that's been damaged. So everything that we do is designed to help your body recreate itself. We're also with the first of the year coming around, we do a lot of Dr. Dan Pompa. I'm one of his platinum doctors. We do a lot of the detox programs because when your body's toxic, the endocrine system gets disrupted, which are the hormones. Hormones are supposed to act on the cells. There's 75 trillion cells. The only live part of your body is the cell. And if the cell receptors on your individual cells are polluted with different types of endocrine disruptors, like actually even bad estrogens like polyester, or a lot of the forever chemicals that are out there right now. Glyphosate damages the brain, the blood-brain barrier to the brain. And, it's like, where do you start? You got to start somewhere. And so we do the Dr. Pompa program in my office, and that's with the new supplements that are now the most amazing thing is that Dr. Pompa is never stopping research. So we are now working with can't say it right now, but mushrooms that grow on the substances that we're extracting the active ingredients out of. For instance, if you lion's mane mushrooms are really good for the brain. So is ginkgo biloba, so is turmeric, so is ginger and licorice. So if you grow the mushroom on sawdust, like a lot of them are grown, you're going to be extracting what's out of that sawdust, and you still have a pretty good mushroom because it's been tried and true. But when you grow that same mushroom on what's called the substrate, which would be the ginger, the turmeric, the ginkgo biloba, you're going to not only have the benefits of the mushroom itself, but also extracting out of those plants the active ingredients at a much higher rate than ever possible before, so that we can really help you get your body back to health. Remember, without mushrooms or bacteria or molds, we would not be able to digest our food because it lives in the soil and breaks down the food so that we can digest it in our body. Of course, the molds in the soil and the bacteria and yeast in the soil break down the earth so that the plant roots can absorb it, so the plants can be nourished by it. Then when we eat the plants, we can't digest them without another family of fungus, bacteria, and various other microbes to break down the food in our intestines so that it's now absorbable to the human being. And this is one reason, as an example, cows have 7 stomachs. It's got to be broken down, that whatever they're eating, grass has to be broken down in 7 different stomachs before the cow can get the nourishment out of it. Thank God we're not cows having to eat grass. However, there's some probably pretty good stuff in there. So we are doing the peripheral neuropathy program, full swing. A gentleman who we've been working with for a while came in and he said, yeah, I'd been doing the program and I was sleeping and I forgot to do it 2 days. And then I realized when I woke up in the morning, I was getting the problem back. So he started doing some of the home things that we have him do again. And he said it started to work. And that was pretty quick for him. Of course, he's been under chiropractic care and he's had a lot of our stem cell treatments, the TRT treatments prior to that. So his body's already ready to go. So the funny thing is, if we're not in pain, we don't think about it. And we put it off and put it off and put it off until it's too late. The other thing that I'm confronted with a lot, and I realize this, and I oftentimes tell patients that we're probably not the right office for them because they're more interested in only doing what their insurance will pay for and expecting that to get them the health that they really want. And the two things just don't coincide. If you want to have your bathroom remodeled, or your kitchen remodeled, or your house painted, or, remodel your house, your insurance isn't going to pay for it. You don't have house remodeling insurance, right? But you'll spend the money on it. If you need a new car, unless it got wrecked in an accident, you don't have buy me new car insurance so that I can get around and look good in my car, look good in my house, feel comfortable on my couch, my new couch, right? So if you want to enjoy all these things that you've worked so hard to get in your life, and you still want more comfort, and you still want to be able to enjoy your life with your kids and your family, you know what? Just budget out some money for the first of the year to go, I'm going to go find somebody to help me make sure I'm getting as healthy as I can. This is what I'm looking at. And it will either fit or not. If you go to a new car shop and go, look, I got $500, I want a new car, they're going to go, you're in the wrong place. The drive-a-dent is down the street. So if you really want your health, you can't go to a drive-a-dent health shop that's only going to do what your insurance will pay for. Now, if you need Western medicine, emergency, it's the best in the world. I was in the hospital for 5 days in November 2021 with a ruptured appendix. And if it wasn't for Western medicine, I'd be dead. I had great service at a local hospital here, and they saved my life. That's great. That's where we should be focusing on Western medicine, not 75% of every dollar spent on Western medicine on covering up symptoms with medication that are allowing the condition to further progress and further progress and further progress till, that condition may take us out. So I'm committed to trying to give you information so that you can help yourself. My new book, actually my second edition of Turn Back Your Biological Clock, it's probably going to be a couple months before it's out. I will be announcing it, so you can get you can order it prior to it coming out, whatever that's called, and get a better price on it, and be some of the first people to get it. It's really been updated. Dr. Pompa's looked at it and really commended the effort that's in it and the information. So much of it has to do with you being able to take your own health back, take your own life in your hands and get yourself healthy. Don't depend on somebody else to do that. If you waited for the government to paint your house or to remodel your house or give you a new car, good luck. So the government's not going to fix your health and get you to be one of the healthiest people on the planet. Earlier, I mentioned my friend Chris, who was saying, no matter through any time of diversity, there's always those that are doing better than others. So if the diversity is a health crisis, the ones that are going to do well in a health crisis, which our country has, because we're rated 47th in the world for health, most obese country in the industrialized world, the ones that are going to be the healthiest are the ones that take advantage of opportunities that arise. So the opportunity for your health is for you to actually take charge of it yourself. Don't depend on anybody else. Don't worry about whether your insurance is going to cover it or not, because it won't. And figure out how to afford it. Your health is more important than anything that you can buy or remodel. So with that, I'm out. We'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.